Rachel Vance was thrown out for saving a veteran's life. But when veterans, nurses, and even a congressman united behind her, everything changed. In the end, the hospital had no choice but to beg her to return in the room she saved him in. Renamed in his honor, this isn't just a story, it's a movement. Watch till the last frame and subscribe if you want more powerful stories that restore your faith in humanity. The emergency room was quiet, just soft beeps from machines, the occasional cough, and the clicking of Rachel's pen, until the automatic doors burst open and a man almost collapsed onto the tiled floor. His shirt was soaked in deep red. His hands trembled as he held a blood-covered arm. Rachel's breath caught in her throat. She didn't even ask his name, yet her nurse instincts screamed one thing: arterial bleeding. Seconds to live. But just as she stepped forward, her supervisor hissed, "Don't touch him, he needs to go through intake first." Rachel turned to look at the man again. He could barely stand. If he goes to intake, he won't make it that far. She wasn't supposed to help, but how could she just watch? Without another word, she grabbed a wheelchair, helped the man in, and wheeled him straight into the trauma room. Her gloves slipped. As she pressed hard on the wound, her mind raced. She could be fired, blacklisted, disgraced, but she didn't stop. A young doctor joined in. "Good call," he said. "You just saved his life." The man, finally speaking, whispered, "You didn't even know who I was. Why help me?" Rachel smiled softly, her eyes filled with tears. "Because you're a human being. That's enough." What she didn't know was that this man had friends in very high places. And soon, those friends were going to show up, and everything would change for her, the hospital, and the country. Rachel Vance had never been inside the administrative boardroom before, but now she was sitting across from three people whose eyes held zero empathy, just policy. "This is not personal," one said. "You knowingly disobeyed protocol." She nodded slowly. She wasn't there to argue. She already knew they were going to fire her, but fate had other plans. The floor shook slightly, boots, heavy ones, in rhythm. People rushed to windows. The administrator's phone buzzed non-stop. A nurse from the front desk burst in, eyes wide. "You need to see the lobby now." Rachel stood with the others and walked toward the front entrance, and froze. The hospital lobby had transformed into a battlefield of respect. Uniformed Marines, row after row, had taken over the space, like a silent army. Families stopped. Phones came out. The media didn't need an invite, they were already live streaming, and at the front was a woman whose voice cut through everything. "I'm Captain Naomi Kane. My father, Marcus Kane, is alive today because a nurse broke your ridiculous rules. If she hadn't, he'd be dead. I suggest you reconsider your actions." Rachel's legs trembled. The man she saved was not just a man. He was a hero, a fighter, a forgotten veteran until now. Despite this scene, the hospital remained cold and firm. They fired Rachel anyway. And just like that, a private story became a public war. Veterans groups organized rallies. Reporters camped outside. Military families called for boycotts. The internet declared Rachel a hero. What the hospital tried to keep small had just become too big to control. Rachel didn't say a word as cameras followed her out, because the next chapter was going to be written by the people. Rachel had spent 8 years inside that U-boat. Never had she walked through its doors the way she did now. Camera flashes, veterans in uniform, striking nurses in rows. The same people who once ignored protocol's damage were now watching every move she made. Dr. Sandra Walker stood at the top step of the hospital with Congressman Luis Romero beside her. Their expressions were unreadable, but their message was not. "Injustice happened here," Romero began, "but this nurse reminded us what real courage looks like. She didn't just break a rule, she exposed a sickness buried in our system." The crowd erupted in support, chanting Rachel's name. That evening, the board issued a formal public apology, reinstated Rachel Vance with the title of Chief Patient Advocate, and unveiled a plaque on the ER wall reading, "In honor of Rachel Vance and Marcus Kane, who reminded us that human life always comes before policy." But what made headlines the next morning wasn't the apology. It was the new emergency law introduced by Congressman Romero, called Rachel's Rule, which made it illegal in 6 states to delay emergency care due to paperwork or insurance. Rachel stood quietly at the back of the press briefing, no longer needing to speak loudly to be heard, because now her voice had become law. One nurse, one moment, and the system changed forever. If you believe compassion is stronger than any policy, don't leave without subscribing. More true stories are waiting for you.